Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's now 5:15. This is the Carson City Planning and Zoning Commission regularly scheduled meeting. Would you call the roll, please?
Chair Borders,
Here.
Commissioner Eswine,
Here.
Commissioner Perry, Commissioner Preston, Commissioner Tingle, Commissioner Wiggins. A quorum's present.
Thank you. Let's see, Commissioner Preston, would you lead us in our pledge? Before we start, I'd like to apologize for the delay if anybody's on the line and has been waiting. I apologize. The public is invited at this time to comment on and discuss any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of the Planning Commission, including any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. Do we have any callers?
I see no public comment, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. For approval of the minutes of October 28th and November 4th, and the November 4th workshop. Are there any additions or corrections to the October 28th, 2020 minutes? Hearing none, could I have a motion, please, to accept those minutes? Okay. There's a motion by Commissioner Preston. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, and who is that? Oh, Paul?
Commissioner Eswine.
Okay. Oh, we can't see you, Paul. That's okay. All right, is there, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item is to approve the November 4th, 2020 workshop minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the November, is it 2nd or 4th? It's the second, isn't it? It says 2nd on here and 4th on here, but it is the 2nd. I'll make a motion that we approve the workshop minutes of Monday, November 2nd, 2020. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Is that Commissioner Eswine?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Items on the agenda may be taken out of order. The public body may combine two or more agenda items for consideration, and the public body may remove an item from the agenda or delay discussion relating to an item on the agenda at any time. Mr. Flomo, are there any modifications to the agenda?
No modifications.
All right. The public hearing part of our meeting, E1 LU 2020-0040 for possible action, a discussion and possible action regarding a request for a special use permit to allow for the expansion of the existing Carson City School District office on property Zone P located at 1402 West King Street, APN 003-171-01. Heather?
Thank you. Heather Ferris, Associate Planner for the record. The subject property is zoned public and is the site of the Carson Middle School and District Office. The site includes the main school building, operations building, two maintenance buildings, and the district office building, associated parking, and the track. The site is surrounded by single-family residences. The focus of this special use permit is the district office building, which is located at the southeast end of the track. The applicant is seeking to construct a 975 square foot addition of office and storage space to the existing district office. Additionally, the applicant proposes an interior remodel of the existing office building, as well as updates to the public entrance along King Street, including a new entry door and window, and replacement of existing retaining walls, with new concrete sidewalks, walkway, stairs, and ramp to meet ADA requirements. Per the municipal code in the public zoning district, any use may only be established or modified subject to a special use permit. The Planning Commission is authorized to approve a special use permit upon making the 7 required findings in the affirmative. Staff has made all 7 findings and is recommending approval subject to the conditions of approval, which are included in your staff report. We've received no public comment regarding this project. I'm available for questions. Darren Berger is representing the project and participating via phone, and I believe Mark Johnson and Mark Cornick with the school district are also participating via phone and available for questions.
Okay. Are there any questions for staff? Hearing none, how about, is the applicant online? Which one of you all are going to speak for the applicant?
Mark Johnson's available
All right, Mark.
and Mark Cornick's available.
Okay. Have you all seen
Darren
the,
Berger's available.
all right, have you all seen the 7 conditions of approval?
Yeah.
Is there a problem with those?
I see none.
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to say at this time?
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Okay. Is there any questions for the applicant? All right, hearing none. Heather, do we have any real concern about whether or not they remodel the inside? Just the fact that we know they're going to do it?
No real concern.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion? Commissioner Preston, I'll lean to you. All right, is there a second, please?
I second.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
All right, the motion carries. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much for your help.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry for the delay. Have Superintendent Stokes take it out of my pay or something. All right, item E2, LU 2020-0042, discussion and possible action regarding a request for a special use permit to allow the addition of a powder coating and paint booth at an existing business on property zoned limited industrial located at 3500 Arrowhead Way, APN 005-051-10. Oh,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject industrial property is occupied by Rice Hydro, a business involved in manufacturing, distributing, and selling rental equipment. The company is seeking to add powder coating and a paint booth to its operations. No building expansion is proposed and work will occur indoors. Given the use of powder coating, the use is being considered most like an automobile body painting use. Per Municipal Code 1804-145, a special use permit would be required. Staff has reviewed the 7 required findings of fact in the staff report, and we have been able to make each of those required findings in the affirmative. I will provide clarification on condition 3. The applicant did have a question about that condition. And essentially what that condition says is the applicant must obtain a building permit for the new equipment within 1 year of the commission's action. Staff is not recommending a sunset clause, so provided commencement of the use occurs within the 12-month period, the applicant does not need to obtain or reapply any additional special use permits. This is a single special use permit, and provided work commences within 12 months, the applicant's good to go without a sunset clause. Stacy Huggins with Wood Rogers is on the line, and I'm happy to answer questions or go more in depth on anything. Thank you.
is there any questions for staff? Stacy, are you speaking for the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Stacy Huggins representing the applicant. I am.
All right, and then if you're familiar with the 8 conditions of approval?
I am, and I just want to comment that I appreciate Hope clarifying condition number 3, but we've reviewed the conditions and we understand them.
All right, thank you. I have a question for you. In your proposal, you're showing some pictures on page 10, 9, and 8, I believe, of a bake oven, a powder booth, and a wash rack. Are those typical, or is that the equipment you purchased and yet to install, or is it? Are they just there to show us what it looks like? I guess is my question.
Mr. Chair, if it's acceptable with you, Denise Doherty, who actually works with Rice Hydro, is also available to answer questions. So I might just let her tell you a little bit about those photos and where they are in the process of this additional paint booth.
Okay.
Denise, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can.
Great. Well, I'll turn it over to you to have a quick conversation about those pictures that we included.
The question,
Yes,
Denise,
those
is just whether or not
pictures-
that's typical equipment or equipment you purchased and are installing or about to install, I guess.
Yeah, that is equipment that we newly purchased that is in the process of install. It's all going through the city for permitting now.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions for the applicant? All right, and you all do agree with the 8 conditions? I believe you
Yes,
said.
Mr. Chair, we agree with the conditions.
Okay, thank you. And is there any other questions for the applicant? If not, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Commissioner Eswine, that sounded like you.
Yes, it is. I move to approve LU-2020-0042 based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval contained in the staff report.
All right, thank you. Is there a second? Commissioner Preston?
Second.
All right. Commissioner Tingle, is that you?
Aye.
Yeah, all right. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you, you too.
You too.
Stay safe. E3, discussion and possible action regarding the recommendations to the Board of Supervisors concerning the annual master plan report. Mr. Plummel.
Good evening. For the record, Lee Plummel, Community Development Director. I'll be giving this presentation. I'm going to pull it up on my computer here real quick so I can see what I'm.
Lee, before you proceed again, can we have your volume turned up?
Yeah, it's hard to tell here. I can speak. Is that better?
That's much better. Yeah, it's just
I
hard
just
to
need
hear
to
you.
talk closer. Okay. That's not the right one. Hold on. I'm trying to pull up my presentation here so I can see. It's not on a screen in front of me that I could see. So I'm going to. This one. Apologies. So this is as you read into the record, this is the annual master plan report. It comes to the Planning Commission every year per NRS, and you have the report attached. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly, but I'll go through some items for anybody watching. So just a reminder that per state law, the Planning Commission is required to promote the interest and understanding of the master plan. So we do that through this annual report, and you make recommendations regarding possible actions and programs for the next year for the implementation of the master plan. I'll kind of, can I have the next slide, please? To kind of, the upshot of this whole thing at the end is going to be that our program for the next year is going to be to continue to work on Title 18. That's taken up a lot of capacity of staff to do that, and there's a couple of land use map corrections I'll talk about and show you. But the master plan was adopted in 2006. So it's been a while. It's certainly something that we want to look at updating, but as we've said last year, we want to get through the Title 18 update first, and that's certainly an implementation strategy in the master plan to improve the zoning code and update that. And a master plan is a policy document. It's not the code itself. It's advisory. It has written goals, policies, and principles. I've attached the outline of the table of contents for you to kind of see the scope of what it discusses. And it's intended to be about a 20-year projection of development and goals, and it's been about 15 years, 16 years now. So as I mentioned, we do know it's something we do eventually want to update, but that's not something probably that's in the cards in the next year, but something shortly after that we'll try to pursue updating the master plan. Next slide, please. So just a couple of the things that we talk about in the master plan is kind of what's the growth, what's our projections, where are we? So up there's our population projections with the vertical line kind of in the middle there. The far left vertical line is 2020 with our demographer certified population to the left of that, and our projections and the demographer's projections going to the right of that. When we up until the last year, we've kind of just looked at a figure based on our land use of having about 80,000 people at build out in Carson City, and this graph just kind of shows where that range falls out in the future, kind of maybe even at a fast pace of growth. In 2050, we get to that point. But more importantly, more recently, we're kind of tying our water analysis to not only residential population, because you could develop land with something other than residences, but kind of all uses. So going forward in the future, we're going to, in the growth management report annually each May that comes before the Planning Commission, we'll discuss our population and growth management projections more in terms of that from this point going forward. Next slide. And just really looking at the, staying on residential growth, that chart there just kind of shows the number of residential permits going back to 1996. And I went back that far just to show that the adoption of the master plan occurred in 2006, and it was kind of at the end of a period where development was booming, development was going for years and years and years, and obviously we adopted the master plan, and then everything all development came to a virtual halt for a while, for a few years, almost a decade, and we're kind of picking back up again now. And as I mentioned earlier, we haven't done a full comprehensive update of the master plan, but we do this annual review each year where we find some things that need to be corrected. We make those corrections. So next slide, please. Kind of tying into one of the recommendations that we're putting forward is there were these updates to the land use plan and zoning map. There were two areas that actually the Planning Commission identified through the review of special use permits. I think they were both related to special use permits, but other zoning applications that came through. The first area being this Lapeer Drive, Cassidy Court area. It's designated mixed-use commercial in the master plan. There was no residences in there in 2006. There's now, I'd say nearly half of the land is occupied by residences, which is a mixed use, and You recently saw an application for another residential use, so we're recommending that that's an area where we look at the master plan and zoning and perhaps evaluate that. That's not coming to a conclusion. And what we would do based on this recommendation and then taking this to the board for their recommendation is notify the owners in the area, maybe come up with a recommended plan and get some feedback on that before bringing it back to the planning commission and then board of supervisors. And the second area is the Highway 50 East and Empire Ranch Road. Again, this was a special use permit that came before the Planning Commission for RV storage. It's a single property that has 3 master plan designations and 3 zoning districts on it. So perhaps it's just an opportunity to clean that up, because when you come in for any sort of development, then it requires a special use permit crossing when the zoning districts cross boundaries like that. So finally, as I mentioned, the recommendations for 2020 for our planning programs, at least, you have in your report some updates from other departments, Parks and Rec, Public Works, a lot of the activities that have been going on for implementing master plan strategies over last year and what's upcoming in the next year. But in terms of just planning and zoning projects, these are the 2 recommended going forward, the big one being reviewing Title 18 and the development standards that we've been doing for pretty much all of 2020 and plan to continue to do that into 2021. And then the second recommendation being to look at master plan and zoning consistency corrections for those 2 areas I just noted. I'd be happy to, that'll conclude my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Are there questions for staff? Lee, I have one, and I'm not sure how it fits, but when we do our annual review and we look at population growth and building permits and I know this last year we finished this link water capacity data, and we now have a new overlay that we can use. Is there some way we can graph that also and allow that to be part of that discussion when we get to it next year? Because I know there's several members on the commissioner that are concerned about water, and if we found a way to integrate it, but now we need to find a way to present it so that we can see it and it's way more visible. I think it makes it easier for people to understand, and I think it also makes it easier for us to understand. And I don't know what the mechanism is. It's just a question.
We'll work on it. So when it was kind of, we have this master plan review that happens in November, and then 6 months later, we have growth management that happens. So I think now that this is integrated, I really want to focus on that piece of it during the growth management piece of it. And so, yeah, I'll work with Public Works, and they've kind of committed to annually for growth management in May to make sure they update their water usage projections for that meeting. So that's why it's not part of this. I know you weren't saying expecting it with it, but yes, we'll need to find a way to to graphically present that.
In fact, I was just suggesting that we just do it at growth management.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it here, and I wouldn't expect it to be there, but I mean, as we move forward, I think that makes sense to do.
And having a good way of representing it and presenting it, I agreed. We'll work with Public Works on that.
Okay. Are there any other comments for staff?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Preston.
if we can incorporate the water, can we also,
Commissioner,
You're going to have to move your mic closer too.
if we're able to incorporate the water, can we also incorporate any kind of sewer too?
Yes, with growth management, I'll make sure they talk about sewer. The big report that they did wasn't water, but they also do annually keep up with the sewer capacity and what projects are coming up. Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, I'm sorry.
this is Commissioner Tingle.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So as always, on page 7 of 9 of the report,
there was a comment about we have sufficient water rights. And I get that, but having water rights does not actually equate to having water available. If we are in a drought situation, which we've been in for a bit of time, that we can have all the water rights we want, but if there's no water available, then, you know, those water rights don't count for, you know, pretty much anything. And so I'm wondering who is monitoring the actual water availability. And I don't know if that's Carson Water Subconservancy District, if that's the Department of Public Works and where they're getting their information from. I would like to know that. And there was another on page 15 of the report about the city continues to receive and review housing projects that include a mix of housing types. And I just kind of am curious about, you know, who is submitting any proposals for developments that could be construed as affordable, because right now I think most of the developments that are being done would not be construed as affordable by people currently living here because of the median income. So, you know, those are kind of a couple of things I have. And, you know, as you know, my issues pretty much always relate to water, school overcrowding, and affordable housing. And you would be really disappointed.
So Lee Plemmel, Community Development. Yeah, with the, you know, I know the water rights, the issue of the availability of actual water to pull out of ground is definitely something that Public Works, the water department, looks at. They've talked about that a bit in the last, you know, when you're looking out 30 years from now, that's a real, you know, that is a real question, right? As to what might happen that far out. You know, I mean, I've heard from the Subconservancy, I've heard at James' presentation, Carson City is much better off than most other Nevada surrounding jurisdictions, and certainly a lot of other Nevada jurisdictions, in actually having water in our basin here versus, especially compared to others. But I mean, it's something that's why I think they need to keep up on it annually and keep asking that question and keep monitoring it, certainly. But that is something to ask Public Works. It's something they can address and do address with growth management.
Lee, this is, I don't know if you guys can hear me. This is Dan Stuckey.
Sure, go ahead, Dan.
Hi, Dan Stuckey, Deputy Public Works Director, for the record. So yeah, Commissioner Tingle, I know you've heard our water utility manager, Eddie Qualieri, give periodic updates, and you've had phone conversations with him, I think, multiple times too. He's constantly working on, you know, evaluating, monitoring water quality and quantity, the health of our basins. The state of Nevada, the Department of Water Resources, does the same. So they're constantly monitoring basins, looking at drought, different climate scenarios, those types of things. As Lee mentioned, we do have, it's something we're constantly monitoring. That's why we did, you know, that water usage build out kind of analysis a year and a half ago or so that Lee mentioned. But we're constantly monitoring that stuff. We have a number of projects, you know, we do re-drill our wells as far as rehab them, to make sure that we're getting the quality and quantity that we should be getting. We also have a project, a major project up at our water treatment plant that's planned in the next couple years. And that is basically, right now, we're not able, because we don't have the technology at our plant to use all the water that is available to us. And so that'll be a big investment. I think they're estimating about a $10 million worth of upgrades at the water treatment plant to be able to better and more effectively use that water. So, I mean, Eddie, our water utility manager, this is always on his mind. He's constantly looking at this and doing forecasts and looking looking at different options and projects in the future. So it is all who's on our mind.
Yeah, because I think I had had a conversation about how much actual potable water is available in the wells around Carson City that the water does not have to be diluted in order to meet EPA standards. So I don't, he was not able to answer that question, and I don't fault him on that. I'm pretty sure that's probably not a study that's been done any time in the recent past. But I think that might be something that needs to be looked at is, are there water resources that are actually potable coming out of the well instead of having to be treated and diluted with whatever we're purchasing from the town of Minden and Lyon County. So that's just kind of, where, and that's where my thoughts go is, what's our actual virgin resource, if you will.
Okay, well, to kind of patch onto that, I think, Lee, what we're asking is when we do our growth management in 6 months from now, and we're going to have a whole new realm of water usage and water management, since we're obviously smarter than we were a year ago, and we have some more resources. Maybe we can start rolling some of these things into that report so that it becomes more visible, so that Commissioner Tingle and others, even us sitting up here, all of us can understand where we sit. And I think the guys have done a wonderful job in chasing down all the water they can, and I know it's important, but I think we need to find a way to display it and to comment on it so that we can, in essence, sell it. Because we're the salesman. When somebody asks how do we have water or what do we have, it's boards and commissions and the board of supervisors that have to convince the public. So the more that we can arm ourselves with good data, I think the better off we are. And I'm hoping that we can have this new piece in 6 months. I'm sure we will. And I know Commissioner Tingle will be tickled to death to see it.
I'll answer. And yeah, Deputy Public Works Director Stuckey
somehow.
is on, has heard it. So he's on notice that you're going to be expecting a
Okay.
water report in May with the growth management.
Well, I just think it fits so well with all the other things we're doing. It makes
No,
sense to do that.
it goes with the growth management.
It makes
yeah.
sense to make that an integral part of our growth, because I know Commissioner Tingle's been talking about it for a long time, but the reality is it's true. Eventually, the water is going to be the most important thing we do, and we just need to find ways to be able to see it and understand it better.
I'm
Okay.
just an old nag, so what can I say?
And then to her second question, Supervisor Tingle, points taken about having a variety of housing types versus having affordable housing. But I think it's a good point to note that we need to stay on top of that to make sure we continue to try to strive for workforce housing. But was there a question in there that I needed to answer, or was that?
No, that was just not even a rhetorical question. It was just a comment about, hey, I know everybody always talks about workforce housing, and I don't know that everybody really understands the median income of the community and what that workforce.
Okay. Are there any other comments? Lee, are you done? You have any more to say?
I'm done, thank you.
Okay. I'll make a motion, then I move that we recommend to the Board of Supervisors acceptance of the master plan annual report as presented by the staff, with our wishes expressed. Is there a second?
I second.
There you go. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Let's see. Staff reports.
Just go over a couple things really quick regarding the Board of Supervisors this month, items that have been before you in the past. On November 5th, the Board of Supervisors approved another final map for Arbor Villas. That's the townhomes on Little Lane. And just along those lines, if you've driven down Little Lane recently, you see a lot of stuff going on, including getting ready for final maps for the other single-family project next to that and apartments across the street. So not all of these final maps, these are things that were approved before and now just coming to fruition in terms of construction, but there's actually quite a bit going on that they're still going, the construction industry is still going full bore towards building more homes, even though you can see from our prior presentation, it's not super high level, it's just kind of steady and just keeps going. The board also approved the second reading of the hemp ordinance with regulations for growing hemp, so those are in place now. The board is meeting on Thursday. We don't have any other zoning items for that meeting. But on Monday, the next planning commission meeting actually is going to be a Title 18 workshop on Monday, December 7th. I'm also that week I'm not sure what our topic's going to be. I think we're moving on with the development standards. Just a little bit about that. I'm going to meet that week with the DA's office to kind of start to come up with the strategy for how to start to adopt some of these things. We certainly, because we're going to have 3 new board members on the Board of Supervisors in January, we want to kind of make sure they get involved and up to speed with what we've done so far and have input on everything thus far. So keep going forward with that. Next regular meeting of the Planning Commission is Tuesday again, December 15th, because of the Christmas holidays. And we have 3 items for that: a special use permit for the Eagle Valley Middle School expansion, a special use permit for a downtown mixed-use apartment building project that is going to be on the former Copeland lumber site down on Stewart Street, and a zoning map amendment for Mallory Way to go from general commercial back to limited industrial like it was before the school project that was there. And then I would also mention for things for the Planning Commission, you gave us direction regarding the Tahoe Western asphalt show cause, and the plan is still to bring that in January with the hopes that the public will be able to attend meetings in January. So we're still on track with that as well. Any other questions for me on those?
Any other questions for the staff? Any commissioners' reports or comments?
Mr. Chair, I have a comment,
Yes, sir.
and it really just is something to think about in the next time we talk about development standards for the zoning update. Then it came up in today's meeting. It would seem to me that powder coating should be if it's part of a manufacturing process, should be considered just part of a manufacturing process and not necessarily need a special use permit. And I just mentioned that because that application today just struck me as being somewhat unnecessary.
This is Lee. Thank you, Paul. We had that conversation today. We're with you on that.
Any other comments? All right, the public is invited at this time to comment on and discuss any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of the Planning Commission, including any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. Is there any public comment?
There is no final public comment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Kind of a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Commissioner Tingle.